Hi, welcome to Crohn's and Colitis Connect. I'm Jacqueline Leach, and I have with me in studio today,
I'm so excited,
Alicia Barron. Welcome.
Hi. Hi.
You're in the flesh today.
I know, I'm not in a video today. This is so fun.
It is.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you for being here.
Sure, thank you for having me instead of having me just send you my video.
Virtually.
Yes.
Well, we're glad to have you here. It is a big day today.
It is, yes. It is North Texas Giving Day today.
Yes.
Tell us what that means, Jacqueline, because I did have to ask about this.
It is a 24-hour, 18-hour online giving extravaganza.
Wow.
And we are alongside thousands of other local nonprofits, and giving is online all day long, 6 a.m. to midnight, and we hope that you choose the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation today. Your gift today will be magnified with bonus funds and prizes from the Communities Foundations of Texas, and we have a lot of great reasons for you to give. So we're going to be talking about a lot. But we want to get you started by giving.
Right.
Our goal today is to raise $10,000, and we are just over, I think, 1,500. So we have a little bit of ways to go, but it's only noon. So
right, and luckily this is a really generous community, so I think we're definitely going to get there.
It is.
Sure.
We're so grateful for our supporters, and we're just asking you to reach in your pockets again today and help out.
Yeah, this is the day to do it, especially since the funds are being maximized. This is the perfect opportunity.
Exactly. So it's a fun day, North Texas Giving Day. And also on the show today, we have a really special guest. We have Dr. Michael Weisberg. Yes, gastroenterologist with Digestive Health Associates of Texas and published author.
Yes.
He's here with his latest book, In the End, which we're really excited about. So we're looking forward to it. And yeah, it's going to be a great show.
Yeah.
But up next, you're bringing us some resources.
Live and in the flesh. Yes, I'm so excited.
Awesome. All right. Well, up next, get connected with Alicia.
Hi everyone, I am so excited to be able to bring you all of these resources live and in the flesh instead of in person. I did consider bringing my little slips of paper, but luckily I have better technology here than I do at home. So I think you guys probably noticed on our Facebook page, we recently published a journal article that was in our Journal of Inflammatory Bowel Disease, and it was about PTS, which is post-traumatic stress, not the disorder, and inflammatory bowel disease. So what that was talking about is that a lot of folks with inflammatory bowel disease have some struggles with depression and anxiety, and so they were measuring that in post-traumatic stress. So luckily we have a lot of resources available to patients if you are struggling with depression or anxiety, and you can find them really easily on our brand spanking new website. So if you go to our website, crohnscolitisfoundation.org, and you scroll down just past the pictures, you're going to see a little section that says mental and emotional well-being, and right next to that is a button that says learn more. So when you click on that, you're going to get to sort of some subheadings. One of them is depression and anxiety, one of them is navigating daily life with IBD, one of them is coping strategies, talking with your healthcare team, and resources and references. So when you click on the depression and anxiety subheading of that, you'll get to some videos that talk about depression. It'll give you the symptoms of depression, and it'll talk to you about some tips and ways that you can cope with depression and how you can treat depression. And then you scroll down and it talks more about anxiety. And anxiety is very common for our population. Obviously, when you have a chronic illness, anxiety is something that you struggle with on a daily basis. So it'll give you, again, the symptoms of what stress is and what anxiety is, and what are some ways that you can cope with it. Under navigating daily life with inflammatory bowel disease, it does talk about how these things may affect your ability to be in relationships and work and school and things like that. So again, it gives you some tips and some tools and ways that you can cope with depression and anxiety in your daily life. When you go to coping strategies, you get even more coping strategies, and it talks to you about working with mental health professionals and sort of when you would want to do that. And then under talking with your healthcare team, again, you get even more information about how you'd bring this up with your gastroenterologist, how you'd bring it up with your GI or your primary care physician, and then also what it's like to work with a psychologist or a therapist, and sort of what techniques and tips and tools they may give you and what you may try with them. So it's a really great place to get a lot of information and really get a deep understanding of what it's like to work with your mental health and your inflammatory bowel disease together. And then under resources and references, videos, there's some journal articles, there's some patient stories, and so there's a lot of things that you can learn in that particular section of our website. And the last thing, of course, I always plug with mental health and inflammatory bowel disease is that we have really fantastic support groups that are filled with people just like you who have lived through these diseases and have figured out a lot of ways to cope, and they're always willing to share their stories with you. So if you're a person that's already learned these coping techniques, please go to a support group and give other people that knowledge. And if you're struggling, please go to a support group and ask for help, because that's the main reason they're there, is to help you. So please go and look at these resources. Great. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I am joined today by Dr. Michael Weisberg from Digestive Health Associates of Texas, right?
That's right, Alicia. Thank you so much for inviting me, and for CCFA of North Texas and Oklahoma for inviting me to come on the show.
Yeah, we're delighted to have you. You've been a longtime supporter of ours, so it's nice to get you on the show finally.
Thank you.
So you have been a gastroenterologist for about 30 years now?
That's correct.
Is that right? Okay, so why did you choose gastroenterology?
When I was in my residency in Houston, I had narrowed it down to 3 fields that I was interested in. I did a rotation at Ben Taub Hospital in gastroenterology and fell in love with it. I'd always liked the physiology of the GI tract, and I liked the idea that you had both surgery and medicine. You had procedures to do as well as medical things where you took care of patients long term. It seemed to fit my personality well. And the doctors that I found that were in that field seemed to fit my personality also, and they were the kind of doctors that I wanted to be. They seemed to want to help people. They liked the instant gratification of making people better, but they were also willing to take the long term to take care of patients with Crohn's disease, colitis, and the other chronic diseases that we take care of.
Yeah, it's a real long-term relationship that you have to form with your patients. So you must have seen a lot of changes in 30 years. So what advancements have you seen in our field?
I could spend an hour talking about the advances, but I'm going
Unfortunately, we
to
only have
focus
30
on,
minutes.
yeah, we don't have that much time, so I'm only going to focus on a few of the main ones.
Okay.
When I started out, the only medications that we had were prednisone, 6-MP, which is also called immuran or azathioprine, azulfidine, and then flagyl, which is an antibiotic. And most patients we would treat with those, most patients were on steroids long term and had the effects of steroids long term, which were miserable. The game changer was about 15 years ago, the biologics came out. And with Remicade and Humira, we were now able to get patients into remission. Not everyone had to go to surgery. Not everyone had to lose parts of their bowel. Not everyone had to spend long periods of time away from their jobs or school. And so over the 15 years that we've had those drugs, now we have drugs like Entyvio, we have drugs like Stelara have come out. It's completely changed the way we look at these diseases, and now we look to put people into deep remission, where they have absolutely no signs of the disease at all. Another way that it's changed has been with the surgery. Everybody was getting ostomies, ileostomies when I started out that had diseases of the colon. Now with the J pouches, most people are able that have ulcerative colitis are able to still have continence and have bowel movements a normal way. The research has completely changed. It was almost like voodoo research 30 to 35 years ago. No one really knew what the cause was, what we were looking for, what we were dealing with. Now there's been a tremendous push looking at the biome, the microbiome, what the bacteria and the different microorganisms are in the human gut, and showing how that's related. There are good and bad ones, as well as looking at genetics. I think that the big push now is going to be in the next few years, we're going to see looking at a patient's genetics and then monitoring and putting them on a cure or on a treatment plan that fits their genetic profile. So in the 30 years that I've been involved in Crohn's and colitis, the disease has changed to where we really didn't have any ways to treat it successfully, and we were constantly whittling away at people's bowels, to now where we're able to put people into remission and they're able to live normal lives.
Right, right. Well, and that idea of personalized medicine, being able to really take the sort of symptoms that somebody has and their genetics and their microbiome and be able to really tailor a treatment to them is so exciting. But you already are focusing on personalized medicine. It's one of, when I read your profiles and I listen to you talk, you're really focused on how do you care about each patient individually. Tell me a little bit more about what that means to you.
One of the big changes that I've seen in medicine in the 35 years that I've been a doctor is that doctors don't take care of their patients anymore. There are other providers that they have to take care of the patients, whether they're nurse practitioners or whether they're physician's assistants. In my practice, there are 6 doctors. 3 of the doctors use those type of people to take care of a large portion of their patients. I've always felt that's not the way to do it. I feel like if a patient is coming to see me, wants my expertise, they need to see me. I develop a relationship with the patient, and every time the patient comes to the office, they see me. But not only that, the other big change was when you went to the hospital. It used to be your doctor would take care of you in the hospital. He knew you, you were now sick, and you needed him for the most. Instead, the doctors now will use hospitalists, doctors who've never seen you before, who take care of you, and your own doctor doesn't step foot into the hospital. I've never believed in that. I've always taken care of my patients. I'm in a group of doctors. There's 7 of us all together. There's always one of us available every week and then one every weekend in the hospital. And if you're my patient and you go to the hospital and you're not happy with what's going on, all you have to do is pick up the phone and call me, and I can stay involved with your care and make sure that you're taken care of well. So my idea of personalized medicine is that I'm the one that's responsible, I'm the one that knows you, and I'm the one that makes the ultimate decisions for you.
Right. I'm sure your patients love that, and they go to you specifically for that reason.
I think people will appreciate it, especially in the world that we live in now, where it's factory medicine, where people are seen by someone for 5 minutes and told, don't ask me a second question, you're here for one question today, and this is all I can take care of. Or they're seen by someone that's not a physician, and then they're sent to me and said, well, they couldn't answer my questions, and they said you need to see a specialist.
Right.
So I think that the patients are appreciating it, and I think people are now aware that there are other alternatives, that you don't have to be just a number.
Right, for sure. Especially when you have a chronic illness like inflammatory bowel disease, it's so important to, again, really form that personal relationship with your provider, because it's a long-term relationship. You and your spouse and your gastroenterologist together forever.
I think you're exactly right, and I heard you talk before about depression and the different type of psychological aspects. I can pick up on that if I know you. If I've seen you over 25 years or 30 years, when you come into the office, you may say you're doing okay, but I can tell by your expression, your body language, things like that. And a lot of that comes from taking care of you and seeing you all the time, and it being me who's responsible for you.
Right, right. And having that holistic view of your patient is so very important, because, like you said, you can pick up on minute changes that might not be obvious to other people, and especially if you're only spending 5 minutes with them.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
So as I mentioned, you've been a longtime supporter of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation,
Right.
and as both a member of our medical advisory committee, but also as a long-term fundraiser for us. And you and your wife started what's now our Dinner of Champions, is that right?
That's exactly right. Actually, the first event that I chaired was the race that they had at Texas Motor Speedway.
Oh, wow.
Where you could pay a certain amount of money and you could drive a race car, a NASCAR car around it. And this was maybe 12 to 15 years ago. It was amazing. I did it myself, and it was an amazing event. But my wife and I and another couple were standing around one day talking about fundraisers for Crohn's and Colitis, and we came up with this idea of having a dinner for champions. And the other couple and my wife and I were the co-chairs, and we got Evan Grant, who is a patient and friend of mine, and who is the beat writer for the Dallas Morning News for the Rangers, Texas Rangers baseball team, was able to get Nolan Ryan to speak at the very first event. And Nolan Ryan came along with his lovely wife, and it was an amazing event. It was just incredible. He's really a superhero. And just to get to meet him and hear him talk and meet people. And it's been going on for 8 years now. We've had a variety of other athletes. And I'm very excited and honored that this year that I'm being honored.
Yes.
My wife and I also were involved in starting the Parent Chat with 2 other couples, where people whose children are diagnosed with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. We have meetings at our houses or at restaurants, but very informal meetings, and we'll bring in experts, doctors, psychologists, nutritionists, et cetera, and have a small group of 30 to 40 people to meet and talk about the disease, answer any questions that they might have, so that people can go from being very scared and very upset to at least having some calm and some answers to some of their questions and realize that they're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah, those parent chats are very valuable. I know patients learn a lot, their parents learn a lot, and it's a chance to really connect with other families. It's so important.
It's been very important. And my wife, like I said, and the other 2 women who were really behind it did a great job getting that going.
Yeah, it's fantastic, yeah. Well, so you're a little bit of a Renaissance man. So in addition to practicing medicine and apparently driving race cars, you are also a novelist, is a published novelist at that, not just a hobby novelist. So tell me how you got started doing that.
Well, first of all, as far as being a Renaissance man, my goal was always to be the President of the United States. But since that hasn't worked out,
there's still time.
Yeah, there's still time, and I still feel there's time. But As far as being a novelist, I actually wrote my first novel in medical school. And basically, I picked up a newspaper one day, and there was an article saying that a high school basketball coach had committed suicide. I played high school basketball in West Palm Beach, Florida, and all of a sudden it just rang a bell with me is what would happen to the 12 players on the team who are all brought together under the leadership of this one man who actually is undergoing problems, psychological changes, and the team disintegrates and falls apart after he kills himself. So I wrote that novel, but it was about 150 pages. I got into it, and then I didn't finish it. So then, about 2000, they came out with the idea of hospice, where doctors were replaced, no longer went to the hospital to take care of their sick patients. No one talked about it. No one did anything about it. And I said, it was aggravating because I felt patients weren't getting the best possible care. I said, it's going to be up to me to do something about it. So I had been a writer. I was an English literature major in college, linguistics minor. I'd written for the literary magazine at my university, and I said, I'm going to write a book about it. And so I wrote The Hospitalist over 10 years and 4 rewrites and put it out. And I think it's helped change a lot of the way that people look at what goes on in medicine now. But that's what really convinced me that I was able to write in the form of a novel. I'd written short stories and I'd written poems before. After that, and after doing a TED Talk, which involved how the art of medicine became a business in the 21st century, and doing numerous book talks, after I finished with that, I decided I would write a second novel, something that had been on my mind for a long time. And that's where In the End came from.
Okay.
I'd always wanted, my thought from being an English literature major was the great American novel has never been written yet. And you have English novels, you have Ulysses, you have Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre, you have a group of them. But in the United States, we really have Huckleberry Finn and Moby Dick, and that's it.
Right.
I said, I'm at the age now, and I've had experience, I've written a novel, and I'm so naive, I think I can do it, that I'm going to write this novel. And what it's going to be about is the ultimate question. If you're going to write a novel that's the ultimate American novel, then it should answer the ultimate question, what is the meaning to life? And I got that idea from patients before I would put them to sleep for colonoscopies. And I would ask them, do you have any further questions to ask me? Most would say no. The second most common thing would be say, when do I get to eat? But some would say, yes, Dr. Weisberg, what's the meaning to life? And after years of contemplating that and thinking about that, I decided to write the book In the End, to look at that. And it's a medical thriller, just like The Hospitalist is. And it goes through the most critical day in the lives of 5 people, 4 in the medical profession, 4 associated with the field of gastroenterology. Yes. And it answers the question, in my opinion, satisfactorily, what is the meaning to life? But it also looks at what gives meaning to different people's lives, and it also looks at what life is like in the 21st century. The one character who's not mentioned at all in the book, but who I think that when you finish reading the book, who you think about, because you see so many different people talking about him or her, and so many people's ideas and opinions, is God. And so it looks not only at life in the 21st century, the meaning to life, but also some looks at what God means and how he's involved in the world and in the universe.
Yeah, your characters definitely get into really in-depth discussions with various people throughout the story about their meaning of what is God and what is their religion and what that means. And it certainly becomes a final conversation amongst the group. I won't give anything away.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, it is. I did enjoy it though. So it was. Yes, I did. Good. But so a lot of it actually, especially towards the end of the book, is set in an endoscopy suite. In fact,
absolutely, and that's my endoscopy suite actually.
I definitely
photographed it, and then after I completely photographed it, and then I talked about it. So yes.
Yeah, out of curiosity, because there's a good amount of discussion about what happens during a colonoscopy. How much artistic license did you take, and how much is truth?
There's a lot of artistic license. There is a lot of truth. There's artistic license in that I made it a long, difficult, arduous procedure because there were a lot of things I wanted to have discussed while the procedure was going on. I also made it a long, tough procedure because what's going on in the book and what's going on in the world at that time, it kind of mirrors how things are kind of falling apart and the hard times that are going on. But I will say that when you do colonoscopies, there are patients that you get, and especially patients that have had multiple surgeries, have what's called adhesions or scar tissue, that it can be very difficult, and you're in for an event, you better get yourself ready in order to get the scope to go all the way around to the end of the colon.
Interesting. Well, it brings a lot of different meanings to me now for colonoscopies, so I
Good.
appreciate that. So there's also a little bit of a sci-fi spin in this book. So how did you decide to sort of add in this whole element of a sort of parallel world that was happening?
The book was going to end with the characters going to heaven
Okay.
and what they found out in heaven and how that confirmed or didn't confirm what they had decided about the meaning to life. But then I decided that if the characters went to heaven, then I would be saying that that was really the goal or the meaning to life, was to get to heaven.
Right.
And I wasn't convinced that that was the case. Instead, I decided to go a different way and say, what would have happened if all the things that life should be, and if people followed all the right things in the meaning to life, were to happen? And the only way to show that was by showing a world in which that was the case. I couldn't use our world, but another world, which is the parallel universe. I had read an article about parallel universes 20 years ago, and had always wanted to use that in the book. But if there was a parallel universe where you could have the same characters, the same people, the same geography and everything, but instead the people followed what I felt were the tenets for the true meaning to life and how things turned out for them and how things turned out better and how further advanced they were and how the people got along. And so that's why I came up with the idea of the parallel universe and had those people come back to the earth and comment on how the earth had changed and what had happened to the earth because they were unable to follow those same ideas.
Right. Yeah, it was a really interesting spin to the book. So unexpected, but it was nice to see what could be possible, I hope, right?
That would be my hope also.
Yes. So finally, your son is also becoming a doctor.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
How much influence did you have in that? Is he following in your footsteps?
When he went into medicine, he said to me, "I'm going into medicine because of you, Dad."
That's
He
lovely.
said, "You're my role model." He said, "I realize I love science, and I realize what a love of science and health, along with having the right personality and a caring, giving, loving personality, can make a difference in people's lives. And I want to do that too." I said to him, "You went to this fancy private school, St. Mark's, for high school, and you went to University of..." I said, "And all these people you're graduating with seems like most of them are going into the financial fields and they're investment bankers and this and that. Don't you want this huge bag of money in front of you like these other people seem to be striving for?" He said, "Dad, that's not what motivates me. What motivates me is what you do every day. You get out there every day and you take care of sick people and you try to make sick people well. And that's exactly what I want to do with my life." And he's now a senior graduating medical school, and he's going to be doing his internal medicine residency and then deciding on what field he wants to go into. I'm very proud of him, but I'm proud of all my children. And I think that they all have a love for life, and I think they have a love for their fellow human being, which I think is the most important thing.
Yeah, that's really lovely. I'm sure all of your children are very accomplished. But
Thank you.
it's and I'm glad that your son is down in Houston because I can definitely go say hi.
Great. He'd love to see you.
That'd be great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Weisberg.
Thank you for having
Your
me
book is
again.
In the End, and again, it was a very fascinating read. I really enjoyed it, even
Right.
despite the little artistic license, but and maybe because of. So thank you
Okay.
so much. In the End is out now, and you're doing a couple of tours. In fact, actually, you're going to be up in Plano. It's
Yes.
Barnes and Noble Kitchen.
That's correct.
Plano West on October 11th at 7 p.m. doing a little talk about your book. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And I'm looking forward to our big event on November 8th for the
Yes.
Crohn's and Colitis, the gala dinner. And I'll be talking there as well.
Fantastic. Well, we're looking forward to honoring you on November 8th.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Dr. Weisberg, for coming on and joining us.
Yeah.
We are going to invite you all to connect with us now because, as we mentioned first, it is a big day. It's North Texas Giving Day. We have a big goal to fundraise, and we are inviting you all to join us.
Yep.
And we want to share a little bit about how your dollars are directly impacting our patient community. And one of those programs that really is striving and happening because of your dollars is our camp program.
Yes, I love Camp Oasis. So
Yes.
Camp Oasis is one of my primary responsibilities with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, but it's also my honor to do this program. We had over 100 children. Well, we started out with over 100. By the time we got to camp, there was 100 kids that joined me at camp. And it's just really a life-changing way for us to work with our children that have these diseases. And I think what's super valuable is not only do we bring the kids to camp, but we also have all of their counselors tend to be people that are living with these diseases as well. So they have role models to look up to that have gone through college and gotten married and have jobs and lives and careers and are able to really sort of guide them in what it's like to be an adult with this disease. So it's just an awesome thing that we do.
It is. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's such a special program. I do think what makes it unique from other camps is that counselors are most often our patients and act as mentors. And we hear from so many campers, it's the first time they've ever met another, teen or kid with the disease and who understands what they're going through. So that's one way, your dollars today are helping fund our Camp Oasis program, because we want to send 100 plus kids next year.
Yep, my goal is 110 next
Ooh,
year. I know
all
it
right.
seems small, but it's a mighty goal.
You guys hear it here first. So we need your dollars to help make that happen and help sustain our camp program, because it is important to us too.
It is, and it is unfortunately also one of the most expensive things we do, because
Right.
it does cost money to take people away from their families and have them sleep overnight at camp.
In a safe, supportive environment. So.
Yes.
Another way that your dollars are helping are, of course, fueling our research investments and initiatives. And we've invested over $350 million to date. It continues to be a huge priority with our mission in advancing treatment options, as well as ultimately finding cures. And we have some really exciting initiatives happening right now.
Yeah, we are actually second only to the government in research funding. So we are a really important source of funding for our researchers, especially young researchers. We have a particular initiative that funds younger researchers that maybe don't have enough of the data to really support an application to the National Institutes of Health, which is, obviously one of the main funders of research. So it's, in fact, I have a doctor that I work with down in Houston that's how he started, as a young investigator getting a grant through us. And now he's doing all sorts of research and gets grants from all over the place. And so it really helped to kind of spur his career. So that's one of the ways that we provide research fundings, especially an important one.
Right.
But we also have research on quality of care initiatives for patients. That's part of our IBD course program. We have a brand new initiative that just got started here not long ago, really looking at diet and inflammatory bowel disease, which is directly in response to what we're hearing from our community. I mean, we understand that diet is one of the most important aspects of people's lives with inflammatory bowel disease, and one of the first questions they're asking their doctors. And so we're really trying to help answer those questions and try to figure out how we can work with people with inflammatory bowel disease and their diets specifically, and mental health, as I mentioned earlier. So we have quite a few initiatives happening, but it's such an important piece of what we do, and that's directly responsive to our community. This is what they want. They want research.
You're so right. And the other part of our mission and how we support our patient community is through education and support programs. And that's another way that your dollars are helping here locally. And in fact, we want to make sure you guys know about, we do have an education program this Saturday. It is not too late to join us at the Dallas Arboretum for patients and professionals. And so we invite you to come out and join us on Saturday at the Dallas Arboretum. It's also opening day of the pumpkins, and your entry will be waived along with parking. So we invite you to do that. And we also want to make sure you guys are aware of a couple other events coming up. Our Fort Worth Walk, which is next Saturday at Trinity Park Pavilion 5. We'll be there starting at 9:30 a.m. and we're still invite you to join us, form a team and fundraise, and join us next Saturday.
It's such a fun event.
It is. It's so much fun. And then lastly, we want to make sure you know about our golf tournament. It's our 26th annual Putt for a Purpose golf tournament on October 11th at Cowboys. We still have about 4 foursome spots available, so don't delay. Get signed up and join us on October 11th. And one last plug. Go donate today.
Yes, absolutely. Today's the day to donate because it maximizes your dollars today.
Through northtexasgivingday.org. We are so grateful for your support. And again, thank you, Dr. Weisberg, for coming on. Thank you, Alicia. Loved having you on in the
I know,
studio.
I'll have to do it again sometime.
Yes, please. All right, guys, we'll have a great day, and we'll see you next month.